And joining us right now on the Rothman Orthopaedics guest line, the Sixers beat writer for Inquirer and Inquirer.com, Mr. Keith Pompey joins the show. What's going on, Keith?
Hey, what's good, man? How you doing?
I'm great because I'm actually excited about a downtown stadium. I've always wanted a downtown stadium. Like you, I've been fortunate enough to travel the country, see how the other cities do it, and I love it. And having a mom that's from Baltimore, I was there when Camden Yards was being built. I love this idea, so I'm looking forward to, like 2032, but I'm still looking forward to it. What was your reaction when you found out that this is what the Sixers were going to be at least proposing to the city of Philadelphia?
I like it. I think it's some excitement. I'm kind of like, what you said. Now, again, it is 9 seasons away, right? But at the same time, when you think of the first thing that came to mind with me was the Lakers when they built the Staples Centers, now Crypto.com Arena. They built that downtown. You look at Sacramento, like they built a downtown arena. It just seems like that's becoming the trend now. And also a lot of people like it. And not only is the trend, it's also elevating that community, so to speak, like the downtown area. So, I know there are certain people out there probably like, man, why are they going to move there, this and that? No, it's going to bring more businesses than there already are down there. And let's face it, you walk downtown at night, at least down on that area, after like 5, 6, 7 o'clock, there's nothing going on. I mean, you could go to Old City, but in that area right there, there's really not a lot going on. I think it's going to be thriving because of the arena there.
I'm all for whatever helps Philadelphia progress, because I think we got a lot of catching up to do when it comes to some other cities. We have some great things here already. Now we can show them off a little bit. Well, in 9 years, but I'll still, again, look forward to that in 9 years. When did you become aware of it? When did other writers, were you guys all sent a press release ahead of time? When did you guys become aware?
No, what happened is I think that if you noticed, there was a guy in our paper who wrote an article about it. So, I just heard a little bit for the grapevines that something was, probably coming out. So that's just how it went down. It wasn't, it was, the guy had a scoop and he went with it. So, yeah, it was one of those type things. Yeah.
Keith, when you think about it, a lot of crazy things have happened to get to this point in the process, like James Harden taking less money to stay here in Philadelphia and hopefully win a championship. What is it going to take further for this team to squeeze a championship season finally out of this process?
The hope for the Sixers is that it ends this season. You know what I mean? But again, it's like, I think they'll have to get out of the second round. If they can get out of the second round this season, I guess the craziness will end. But, right now it just seems like it's headed in the right direction a little bit. Now, I know that some people look at James Harden and say that he struggled this past season. And, yes, he is giving up a lot of money. And some people are saying, yes, that's great, but we want to see what you can do. The thing is that really impresses me is back in the day, they would have to overpay players to come to Philadelphia. Now you have a player saying, hey, I'll take a pay cut so I can make room for a guy like PJ Tucker to get $10 million a year. Now, PJ Tucker, if you think about it, the Sixers offered him, 33 mil, but he was offered 27 guaranteed in Miami. And when you think about not having to pay taxes, one person may say, well, dude, you might be better off staying in Miami. So the fact that they're not having to overpay these guys and guys are taking less and they want to come here, to me, that's when the corner is turning, so to speak, because Philadelphia, the 76ers, are becoming like a destination for players who want to play. So right when you look at that, even when they had Markelle Fultz, they had Ben Simmons, they did all that other stuff, it still wasn't a place where free agents said, I want to come to Philadelphia and be a 76er.
So speaking of James Harden, what does he have left? Is it all about the injury? Is it about age? What does he have? What can you expect from him coming into this upcoming season?
That's a great question. And I actually think that's the $1 million question or the $14 million question, right? I mean, because here's the thing, when we looked at James Harden, it was one of those things everyone was saying, okay, it was the hamstring, but is he shot? Is he more of a facilitator now than a scorer? But when you talk to people around the league, especially people in the Houston area, what they're saying is, last year James last off season, he didn't practice, he didn't train, he didn't do anything. For him, it was more about healing his hamstring. So he wasn't in shape, he wasn't conditioned, and they think that's why he dropped off. Now, again, you know what? That's one of those things that you can say, but we'll really figure it out when we see him play this year. So that's, you got people saying that, and you have other people wondering, okay, he's like in his 30s, did Father Time hit him? So to me, with the question you asked, unfortunately, I can't really answer it. I think that that's one of those things that we'll see. Now, the hope is with the Sixers is that, yes, he was out of shape. He had to get, he was battling injuries and stuff like that. And this year, from what I hear, he's really putting in the work this offseason. So the $1 million question is, we'll find out quickly once the season starts if it was the hamstring, if it was last season, resting and not training, or was it Father Time? Is it just one of those things where he's getting older and has a lot of miles on him?
It's interesting whether it's the $1 million question or the $14 million question. It's a highly valuable question. And I think the one that's either right there with it or maybe a little below it is Tyrese Maxey and how much he's going to improve in what will be his second year as a starter. I feel like in football, we talk about Jalen Hurts, second year as a full-time starter. Well, now we're also looking at it with Tyrese Maxey, second year as a full-time starter. What type of leap do you think he can take and what will be his third year in the league?
I think he'll, I'm not saying like all-star right now. I think just because he's going to be the third option on his team, right? But I do think that right now, from a work ethic and a confidence standpoint, I think that we are going to see him take another step. Because, see, the thing about Maxey is now he knows what his role is going to be. Before, when Joel wasn't there, he had to be the alpha dog, so to speak, go out there, get the points. Then Joel comes back, and it was one of those things where he had to learn how to play off of him, which he did. Then James comes, and people are like, well, what's going to happen with that? And he was the great beneficiary of everything. I think now coming into this season, knowing that he's going to be the third guy, he's going to be a guy that's going to use his speed to get out there. I think that we're going to see him and he's going to play well. Now, again, the reason why, I still think he does have some maturation to go, but I think that what we're going to see now is that the national audience is going to see what we see, like the national media. People are saying, well, who's Tyrese Maxey? And we're like, oh, dude, he's the truth. So I think that's what we're going to see. He's going to be a guy that's really going to get national acclaim this season because of he's going to get a lot of opportunities because the focus is going to be on James and Joel. And there's going to be games where he may be the second leading scorer behind Joel this season.
Yeah, I think I'm actually hoping for a bunch of those, and James Harden's being more of that facilitator. That's what I'm crossing my fingers for, at least. When you talk about an all-star, maybe not being an all-star, the word I'm looking for to surround Tyrese Maxey, at least after this year, is caliber. All-star caliber. Like for the majority of Tobias Harris's career, he has been an all-star caliber player, but he hasn't been an all-star. I would like Maxey to start getting that type of notoriety. And you mentioned the national media. Bleacher Report just released their rankings for their NBA rosters. The Sixers were number 3 on that list, behind number 1, Golden State Warriors, and number 2, the Boston Celtics. Do you think number 3 is a fair ranking for this roster that they've put together so far heading into the upcoming year?
The Boston Celtics, I also think that, that's good. I think that when you talk about the Milwaukee Bucks, right, I think that they also have a pretty good roster. Wow. So, when we factor in that team, and then if you say the Denver Nuggets, if they're healthy. So I kind of think when we talk about roster right now, I don't know if they're number 3, but I do think they're number 4, maybe number 5. You know what I mean? It's like, I honestly believe that the Sixers, in order for them to win a championship, I think they still have to make another move.
Okay. So that's perfect.
That's why I don't have them number 3.
All right, perfect segue to my next question, because there's been a lot that's been done in the offseason so far. D'Anthony Melton obviously coming in to be in your bench, Daniel House being in your bench, some other moves as well. PJ Tucker in the starting lineup. Do you think there's another move that happens before the season, or is this a wait till the deadline to try to fill that, to try to find that guy that's going to be the glue for everything else? What do you think happens?
I think preferably is one of those things that you really want to make it before the season, because the thing is, like, let's look at James Harden. He came here, he played 21 games.
Mm-hmm.
When Tobias Harris came here the first year, he played X amount of games, right? Well, you got to get acclimated. You got to do a lot of things. There's a lot of things that happen. I think ideally that the Sixers would want to make that, at least this summer heading into the season. But I do, I do expect them to make a move, even if they don't do it then, to make one this season. Because, as good as this team is, this team got tougher. It got really tougher, and they have some 3-and-D guys. But I believe that then, in order for them to be in that number one tier of teams to get a championship, they definitely have to make a move this season, and preferably this preseason, so this guy can have a training camp. He can use October, November, December to get up to speed with his teammates.
All right, so then let's look at this, because preferably, if it's a bigger name guy, then definitely before the season. If it's like the glue guy that I alluded to earlier, that chemistry guy, whatever, off the bench, then I'm okay with it being somebody at the deadline. So what is your expectation? Is it for a big name player, a key contributor, or do you think it's for somebody that will come off the bench and help this team win?
I don't think – I think it will be probably right now, when you look at the way this roster is, like, let's just say, and I'm not saying they're going to do this, but if they trade Tobias Harris, then it would definitely be someone who's going to start. But I think it could be someone coming off the bench. See, the person that I think that they need – now, we know that they got PJ Tucker, they have Daniel House, they have D'Anthony Melton, right? 3 nice additions. Yeah. But I do think that they still need to go out there and get another wing. I do. But I think that this person is more of – and I know some people say Danny Green struggled a little bit, but I think they need to still replace a Danny Green type player. And I feel like, Eric Gordon, that's a name that keeps coming up. When you look at him, he's a guy who can shoot the ball. He's a guy who can defend. He's also a guy who's known for playing off of great players and getting his shot. And he just seems like to be, a veteran who a lot of people love and get along with. I think that now if Tobias, let's just say if Tobias stays, and I think that this is a guy who can come off the bench and be the sixth man or do this and that, and he can excel in that role like Doc Rivers had with Jamal Crawford, with Lou Will, stuff like that. He can be that type of player for him. So that's a guy who comes to mind with me. But yeah, you're right. If it's just somebody that, a rotation guy, you can wait later. But when we look at this Sixers team, you look at Tyrese Maxey, you look at James Harden, if James Harden is the James Harden we expect him to be, and you look at Joel, they don't need, and you already have Tobias, you don't need another like all-star type of player, right? You don't. What you need is, you need a deeper team, and you need some guys who can come in like Andre Iguodala for Golden State. You know what he's going to give you. You need that type of guy, and that's why I think that you need an Eric Gordon type who's a veteran, who's a leader, and who can do all those type of things for you.
Have you had James Harden's wine yet? I'm just curious.
Nah. I gave up wine this summer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna order it. I'm gonna give it a whirl. I'll text you. I'll let you know what I think of it. But I know the guy's been talking a lot about the extracurriculars and a couple of different publications, and that's fine. And I'm happy and all that stuff. But your interactions with James Harden, I'm sure you only really know a guy when you start really covering him, like you did this past season. Does he seem like that guy? Because he sounds like that guy. You would know him a hell of a lot better than I would. Does he seem like a guy who was really at the point of his career where it's all about winning? I mean, money, actions, that's great. I don't doubt that part of it. But to you, does he come off to be the guy that just wants to win right now?
I mean, I know you said the money thing is great and all that, but when you factor that in, I don't know of any person that's going to give up, like in this stage of your career, who you're going to give up 13, 14 million dollars. I mean, that's a lot of money to give up. So when you factor that in, it does seem about winning. I think, a lot of people, what we do nowadays is we always think that, players have to do certain things. Like they have to sleep in hyperbaric chambers. They have to, like just drink water and they don't go out. And like, those are the guys who, that's a champion. But then when you have a guy like James Harden, who, has his wine, he likes going out to clubs, he does a lot of other things, we tend to say, well, that's not a winner. That's not a winner. Mm-hmm. I mean, so like, I think that he gets a little bit of a bad rap because of that. But all I know is my interactions with him is he's always said he's about the team. He's always said that. And you're like, come on, man, really? Like, are you really about the team? And then all of a sudden, this comes up where he gives the money back. So, you know what I mean? So in my opinion, it seems like he's all about winning because you don't give up money like that when you have a struggling season, because you may not get that money back. But he gave it up so they can upgrade the roster. So that tells me that he is about winning.
I asked you this one last thing as far as that goes. I know that there have been reports about the league launching an investigation to see if there's any under the table thing. And people have been like, oh, that's ridiculous. And I'm like, no, that seems about right. Like when you consider all the things with Michael Rubin and the timing of everything and now a new stadium, whatever. It's like, yeah, that's about right. Do you think that the league is warranted if they do, in fact, launch an investigation?
I mean, I think right now you have to, probably. Right? I mean, you're going to have to. I mean, because, people say, like you said, whatever. But it's one of those things where, like people were talking about PJ Tucker, and the Sixers, like before the draft, things like that. It was common knowledge, that not really common knowledge, but, sources and people around the league were saying, like, I had people telling me it was a done deal. And I'm like, you sure? You sure? So yeah, I mean, there's going to be an investigation. There's going to be an investigation. Well, I don't know if there's going to be one, but let's just say there's going to be certain people around the league hoping that there's an investigation.
I think there's going to be sniffing. I think it'll be capped at sniffing. Last thing for you here, Keith. Are you like a lot of people where you've been jaded by off-season workout videos? Because I try to compartmentalize and be like, well, that was just Ben Simmons because he did it a bunch of times and then he never used it in a game. When I see Maxey, I go, my man, he's working his butt off. When I see James Harden or PJ Tucker or Joel Embiid, and I see Sam Cassell running practices and whatever on James Harden's TikTok, whatever it might be, I look at that and I go, that's good. Good for them, Or are you jaded? Are you burnt? Are you scarred by the Ben Simmons workout videos?
I mean, I'm jaded by workout videos anyway. Like,
okay.
I'm just going to tell you this, and I don't want to be long-winded. I remember during the process days, it probably was my first or second season. I think it was my first season. So we go to Indiana, and they're playing the Pacers, and it was like the three last dudes off the bench for the Pacers did a pregame workout. They worked them out hard. These guys might have missed a combined 5 shots in this workout, right? Hitting threes. So I looked at one of the guys, and I said, man, like, that's the end of the bench, dudes? And he was like, yeah. He says, like, so he made a crack about the Sixers in the process, the whole nine. But the reason why I'm telling you this is, like, most of these guys, if you get them in the gym and there's nobody defending them, and they're doing all these drills, they're going to knock down these shots. And you're going to say to yourself, like, wow, I cannot believe that this guy is struggling in the game because an hour ago I saw him draining all these threes. So when you get these workout videos, I'm telling you, you can't go by it because we're talking about a pro who there's no one guarding him. He knows what move, where he's going to catch the ball at. He knows what move he's about to make. It's like a rhythm thing. So yeah, I'm jaded by those workouts. And it also didn't help when you look at the Ben Simmons videos, just because he's killing it and everything. But yeah, I'm jaded by all that stuff, man.
I just do like the idea of like, if you work out but you don't put it on the internet, did you really work out? Like, it's one of those things. So like, if you would do me the favor, then if the next time you work on, I don't know, your penmanship when you're taking notes or you're typing, can you just post a video of it on Twitter so we can all just be like, look, Keith really putting it into work. Look at him.
On Instagram.
On Instagram. There you go.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
Spray yourself. Yeah.
Can I say this?
Yeah.
The one thing that I liked seeing in the these videos so far was when you saw Joel having a conversation with Harden and PJ Tucker. Mm-hmm. I like seeing that because, it lets you know that these guys are working out together. And look, man, how many times has Joel been here? How many times have we seen a video or a photo of Joel working out with a teammate in the offseason? And I'm not saying it didn't happen.
Right.
But we've never witnessed that before. So for me to see him with Harden and then Tucker, to me, that's encouraging to me that these guys are working out together.
Oh, you know what? Something just reminded me of something. The story that's come out about Doc Rivers wanted to take the team to South Carolina to work out. Thumbs up, thumbs down, hokey, good. What do you think?
Well, I got family in South Carolina, so that's cool for me. Like,
well, good for you.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, I got people in Charleston, Myrtle Beach, and Georgetown. So I'm like, yeah, so it's cool for me. But nah, you know what? I think it's pretty cool because Charleston is a nice place. I guess it has history and stuff like that, and you can look at it. Not all positive history for me, but it has some history. But anyway, so here's the thing: you get the guys there, you go there, and it's kind of sort of like it's a real training camp. You come here and you're going to be in Jersey and Camden, and then what happens is everyone goes home. Dudes are going to go out. There's not going to be a lot of team bonding. So I feel like from a team bonding standpoint, it's a plus to get them away, and you don't have to worry about a lot of the distractions that they would have at home.
There you go. I couldn't agree more. Keith Pompey, you've been very generous with your time as per usual. Love having you on the show. Appreciate you coming on and breaking down the Sixers for us. Make sure you guys are checking out everything Keith's doing, following everything he's doing as well on social media. You can follow his Twitter right there at Pompey on Sixers. That's Keith Pompey. Also, Locked On Sixers podcast as well, Keith.
Yeah, me and my man Devon Givens.
Oh, I love Devon.
Yeah.
That's great. You guys do an awesome job. My man, Keith Pompey, inquire.com, Locked On Sixers podcast as well. Joining us right here on the Rothman Orthopaedics guest line. Keith, thank you so much.
Man, thanks for having me.